as we look at the history made last night, give us the level of euphoria at the White House over this transaction with Iran.
Well, Tom, it's hard to overstate how much time, effort, and energy has been invested in these negotiations with Iran over the last couple of years and certainly the last few months. They feel very good at the White House about what they've achieved in Lausanne, and the deal with Iran is clearly the big story here in Washington today, even with the jobs report coming out. This is a big moment for this president. He invested a lot of time, energy, and he risked a lot with this deal, and so did John Kerry. He got a big shout-out from the president yesterday. Right. John Kerry just landing the last little bit here in Washington. But there is huge risk still, and this is not a done deal, Tom. There's a lot that could unravel this thing between now and July 1st, not only here in Washington, but in Tehran as well.
Michael Gordon and David Sanger in the New York Times today note the specificity. Olivia, you noted that yesterday when you watched all this. Yep. There was a lot of specifics in this transaction. Were you surprised by that, Peter, how specific this agreement was?
Well, the Iranians have suggested maybe it's not as specific as John Kerry and the president did. I was not totally surprised, Tom, because for the president to be able to sell this back here, the Iranians know he needed to be able to provide some specifics to members of Congress, to the John McCains, the Bob Corkers, who ultimately might potentially be in a position to block this thing from going forward. So those specifics matter. The United States needed those specifics. And, Tom, the most important people, arguably going forward for the president right now, those other world leaders, the P5+1 nations, who are going to be at his side, able to convince members of Congress, Israel, this is a good deal.
Olivia, do you agree with that? That it's about these other nations as well? It's not just about the U.S., right?
Right. It's not just about the U.S. This is not about U.S. foreign policy. This is all the major global economic powers and political powers in the world uniting in foreign policy. I think what you're referring to about the meat of the agreement is it was 4 pages of bullet points. Yeah. Everybody thought that the talks were dragging on and on because there was no consensus, let alone 4 pages.